But I always thought that it was just like a long movie about Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence like constantly having sex. Like I just had this idea that it was the two of them in bed literally the whole time. I don't know why. I don't know if that was on the trailer. I am moving in 3 short days. My room looks like this and the rest of my apartment looks like this. But I want to take a second to talk about Silver Linings Playbook. I have to prop this up somewhere, so welcome to my air mattress bed. I recently read the Silver Linings Playbook book by Matthew Quick. Obviously, I've heard of the movie. I knew it was a book, but I saw this and was intrigued when my local library had a mental health awareness display set up for us as in the community, me specifically, I don't know. I was telling someone today that I don't know how I feel about Mental Health Awareness Month because it kind of feels like those people that are just jumping on the bandwagon, like when that football team in your area gets to the Super Bowl, they're all of a sudden fans. They all of a sudden say that they care about mental health, and the rest of the year you're like, I don't know about that from you guys. And you're also at the same time, you're kind of like, this is kind of my thing, guys, actually. I wanted to read the book after doing what I did with the Hunger Games prequel, which was watching the movie and then reading the book. I did not want to repeat that. I didn't actually know that it dealt with mental illness and mental health in the Silver Linings Playbook. When I saw it on display as that, I was very intrigued. I'll be honest, the Silver Linings Playbook came out in a year that's escaping me, but I'll put it on the screen. And I don't know why I thought there'd be a copyright on a DVD. I don't know that that's a thing. I think that's just books. It came out at some point and I was relatively young. It was probably like 10, maybe 12 years ago. I thought that it was a movie and I did want to watch it because I like both of these actors, but I always thought that it was just like a long movie about Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence like constantly having sex. Like I just had this idea that it was the two of them in bed literally the whole time. I don't know why. I don't know if that was on the trailer. I don't know if that's just what I expected from these two together or I expected it of Hollywood, but that's what I thought it was about. And no spoilers. I guess this could be a spoiler. This is not a spoiler like to the plot of the Silver Linings Playbook, but there's no sex in it. No one has sex in the Silver Linings Playbook. So I'm very curious to see if there is a sex scene in here. I am very curious to see if Hollywood went ahead and did that. But anyway, tonight first of all, I've had a day, and so I needed a win, and so I went to the library and just to browse around. I actually had this movie on hold, but it was sitting right in my local library. I went through a bunch of the DVD section and I grabbed it. If you're wondering why I needed a DVD version, is because I have no internet. I have no internet. For 9 or 10 days total, it will be, because I'm moving and the internet company that I have does not prorate. So let's talk just a tad about the book before I get into what I think about the movie. I felt that this book, this character, could have very well had intermittent explosive disorder because of the anger issues and how quickly they came on for him with these anger episodes. I've seen some people theorize online that this is more of a bipolar disorder. Could be. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't diagnose, though. I don't work in mental health. I'm not an expert in that. Or even borderline personality disorder. And that very well could be, but when I was watching it, I was really relating to this character in the way that in the way that these anger episodes would present themselves so quickly and he was unable to do anything about it. I also really admired one of his coping strategies, which was to hum, and it's there are a lot of funny moments in the Silver Linings Playbook, and I think I worry that those who I wonder if those who maybe don't experience certain mental health struggles know that they're supposed to find those things funny, because they are funny. So I really enjoyed that. I saw a comment on Goodreads of someone saying that, he's really making people with mental illness seem less intelligent because of the way that he speaks or writes, which is generally not using huge words. Just using really basic words, and he doesn't use any contractions. Someone was picking on, but my response to that is I was actually reading him in the book. So he basically gets out of hospitalization, and this is his life after he's been in the hospital for a period of time. And so I find that, you know, when I came out of the hospital, you were 100% on survival mode for a long time. That can look like doing the most basic things carefully and not taking any risks, not doing anything more brave. You don't really feel like your normal self, and you're definitely, while you might not be in crisis necessarily, you're in survival mode. That's how I was reading the tone of the first person narrator. I was reading it as he's in survival mode, he's still reacclimating to society around him that's not in the hospital. Okay, quick content warning here. Self-harm, but no blood. I could intensely feel when he had urges to just cope with what was happening around him. When he would get frustrated, he would hit himself in the head with the heel of his hand, or he would think about doing that, but then throughout the book he was less likely to do that, actually. So he was kind of growing out of that area of himself. I think there are some really poignant scenes within the book, like when they are talking about taking medication and that's making you a psychopath. Some other character says something like he's a pill-popping psychopath, referring to, I think, a football player. And then, you know, why can't I think of the main character's name? Pat. Okay, sorry. So Pat goes, well, I take medication. Does that make me a psychopath? And he's so amazingly calling people out in a really effective way, I think. And then also, like, I'm actually learning from how he's responding to that. And then there's another scene, I think, where someone's talking about therapy, and Pat goes, well, I have a therapist. I go to therapy. You know, he's totally putting these things out in the world, not proactively necessarily, that's good too. But actually, when people bring this stuff up, he's like, hold on with where you're going with that. Hold on with the stigma that you are clearly imposing and that you have internalized and are now using outwardly to continue spreading that stigma. I'm going to call you out on it. And the way that he writes, he's not necessarily, this is how I interpret it, but he's not necessarily overthinking about if he should say something in that moment. He's just responding. So, you know, I think some of us are like, oh, well, how will this other person react or something? Who cares? I just want you to, I want you to do what he was doing. I think that's a brave example. I know that one of those scenes is in the movie because I did watch the trailer, like the night after I finished the book. I will say I'm a little nervous about the casting of both Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence. I don't know, because I picture this guy as like, I picture Pat as like super like nerdy loner, but super buff. So it's like two things that don't necessarily go together. That's how I see him. But then it's Bradley Cooper. It's like everyone find Bradley Cooper attractive at like all times. So I don't know how they're gonna pull that off. And then for Jennifer Lawrence, I mean, I did not pay enough attention to Tiffany in the book. I do want to, of course, read the book again and pay a little bit more attention to Tiffany. Okay, so ahead of starting the movie, I am a little bit nervous just because I know I'll never have the same experience reading the book again. as I did just a few days ago. But I also know that I think they did a really good job with this movie, and I think it could also really layer the characters' experiences in a different way that I haven't yet engaged with. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, folks. Okay, I just read the back of the movie, and they took a big liberty with the amount of time that Pat spent in the hospital. And I'll just spoil it. In the book, he spends 4 years in the hospital. That means he misses his brother getting married. He misses his kids, his friends having multiple kids. So when he gets out, he literally does not know what year it is. And everyone's trying to hide from him what year it is. And then he finds out, and then he's like, why were you guys telling me that I was only in there for a year? This is saying he was in the hospital for 8 months. So that's not enough for someone to find a new partner, get pregnant, and have their baby, you know? One other thing about the book is there is a lot of football talk, and it didn't bother me. I don't know anything about football, but it didn't bother me. If it was a little annoying when maybe the narrator was describing how a certain game was turning out, I would just skim it and get to the next point when there was dialogue. Fun times for me, but I actually have to go open one of these boxes because I gotta get my DVD player because I don't have internet. I don't have internet, so I can't stream anything. I mean, I could watch a movie from my phone, but like, that's not, no. I need my phone to do other little things while I'm watching the movie. Sorry, buddy. Moving has made me very self-conscious this time around because of the amount of stuff that I have. When I moved into this apartment, I did not have nearly as much stuff as this. Then when you live alone, you have your own space, you fill it up a bit. There's a reckoning. There's a reckoning coming with the amount of stuff I have. So this is my little air mattress. So I'm gonna set everything up. Oh my God. I need a dongle, and I don't know where that is. This is how much work I'm putting into watching this movie. So it better be fantastic. Meanwhile, my string cheese is getting cold. I mean warm. I bet some of you have never even seen a portable DVD player. Look at that. So what I do is I plug it in. They don't even have USB ports anymore. And you pop in your movie, slide it in, and it should just pop up. Oh, wow. Okay, it started. I'm kind of loving this. It's kind of a cute setup. I'm gonna move it though. So what it's actually doing here is playing a file that's actually been stored on this physical disc. And you can go to the title page sometimes. You can also do scene selections. You can get to any scene you want. Any scene you want. That's what it used to be like. If you had to like go back and rewind and your TV sucked at rewinding, you could do scene selection. Okay, so far I'm not loving it. They're talking about the Weinstein Company. Ignore that. Okay, so I just finished watching Silver Linings Playbook, and I have a few thoughts. So first, I really enjoyed it. I will say they took a lot of creative liberties, and I understand that that's sort of something you have to do when you do an adaptation, especially with such big actors and such a big movie and budget, is you have to make it appeal to more of the masses and maybe change a few storylines, cut out a few people, you know, massage some elements. So I will say that. So I almost view the movie as its own creative work. I mean, which it is. But for me, the experience of reading it was very different because I felt I related to the material really well and stuff that was happening in Pat's mind, but you can't really tell or see that in the movie
because he just looks like a really good looking dude. No, no offense. No offense. So they definitely sped up some stuff in the movie. They also, again, with the Bradley Cooper cast, the cast of him, I was really thinking this person would be scrawny and meek, but they had like weirdly big muscles. So like their face looked kind of weird. It looked like really pale or something. And then by the end of it, when he started doing better and found something that he really loves, like a hobby and things like that, he would start to get a little color back in his face and things like that. That's what I was imagining. I thought the discussion between Tiffany and Pat about you think that I'm crazier than you are, and like you told your therapist that you think you're in a superior mental illness category, is 100% something that I've heard about and experienced, and that really is something that's talked about. It's not a competition, but I do write about the idea of mental illness competition in my book, because it's a weird thing, but it's a real thing. They really took creative liberties with the dad character. The dad character, in my opinion, was so different in the book. He was just so grumpy. And then the dad in this movie is much more jovial, but he very clearly, they try to describe that he has OCD, as well as anger problems. They don't explicitly really say that in the book, and I think that's because you have only Pat's POV. And then they also say in the movie that he has, quote, undiagnosed bipolar, which I'm pretty sure Matthew Quick in the book did not mention a diagnosis at all, which I actually really appreciated, because if they were like, oh, he has bipolar disorder, I might be like, oh yeah, okay, this person has bipolar disorder, I don't, so there's gonna be lots of differences. But instead, by not saying it, you really had to discern what related to you and what didn't, if that makes sense. It didn't shut down my mind from the possibility that I would gain from the experiences of this character. And then the part I was talking about in the clip earlier, his friend says, she's a mess, you gotta be careful, she goes to a lot of therapy. And then Pat responds and says, I go to a lot of therapy, Ronnie. What are you trying to say? And then he goes on to say, yeah, you're just like super judgmental guy. So I appreciated that. Plus, it's kind of ironic because Ronnie, if there's one person who probably needs therapy the most, it's arguably Ronnie, because he is straight up not having a good time. He is not doing well. I absolutely loved the dancing scenes. I loved the long montage of the dance rehearsals. Even if you don't watch the whole movie, that's a very fun scene to watch. And then also their performance at the end. The thing with the ending is they very, very clearly in the movie package it up as a romance, spoiler, between Pat and Tiffany, right? But in the book, it's not clear cut like that, which I actually really, really appreciate. So there's definitely possible romantic love there at the end of the book, but there's also very much a really important platonic and friend or even familial love there between the two of them. I just appreciated that not only the ambiguity, but like the noticing that romantic love isn't elevated above other love. So he's not just gonna end the book with, and then he found romantic love. Because that wasn't his goal. That wasn't his goal. But I do understand that in a Hollywood context, that wouldn't end as well as an ending. It wouldn't really get people talking. But like I said, they sort of had to like commercialize the story in Hollywood. And I think to do that, what they did was they had the two of them get together at the end, and they're like together and they're a couple, and they're like kissing in the street after running after each other. So those are some of the reasons why I do see these two as two separate entities. Of course, they're a bit connected in sort of the storylines. That's my overall review for now. I would say if you're interested in the idea of being in a character's mind and like going through what they're struggling with, to pick up the book. And if you're a reader, pick up the book. if you're just interested in sort of this storyline, these actors, and it's adjacent to mental health and mental illness struggles, I would say you can go for the movie first. Good morning. It's the next morning. I wanted to validate some of the things that I thought and said last night, and I like to read reviews and things after I've finished the media to see if I missed anything and what other people thought. I'm just gonna quick run through those. So number one, this website is mcquad.org. It says, in the novel, it is never confirmed nor denied that Pat suffers from a brain injury or gets diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So they did add that in the movie. And then I loved this from Psychology Today. It says, first of all, let's be clear, everyone in the film is neurotic, not just the Bradley Cooper character. And then it says, does Pat have bipolar disorder as the film suggests? And it says, of course not. There are no discrete episodes of mania lasting a week or more, or major depression lasting 2 weeks or more. What Pat did to very nearly kill the man he caught naked in the shower with his wife. Oh, that's what he did. Spoiler. If we label that act as crazy, then it follows that the person who did it must be crazy. Okay, the next thing I have is someone at the Weinstein Company convinced Harvey Weinstein to option this book even before the book was published, which is interesting. I don't know how they did that. And then Pollock, who is someone in the process of making the movie, told someone else in the process of making the movie, the director, I believe, that the film adaptation would be tricky because of the story's mixture of troubling emotion, humor, and romance. Russell, so I think he's the director, estimates he rewrote the script 20 times over 5 years. I can see that because I can see it's definitely been rewritten from the book. And like I said, they have to Hollywoodify it. But they definitely took some creative liberties, played up, I think, the romance section for sure. Okay, next thing. Next thing was I commented on the dad's character, and in the book he is so grumpy. He does not talk to Pat. He doesn't talk to him. He gives him the whole cold shoulder for a long time. And they don't have a good relationship. But in the film, it says, the film was shot in 33 days. A darker, more extreme version of the dance sequence was filmed, interesting, and scenes with Robert De Niro's character, the dad, were shot in multiple versions with the character harsher or warmer, as Russell worked with the editor to set the balance they wanted. So they did apparently film Robert De Niro as this colder, harsher version, like more similar to the character in the book, but the director ended up going with the warmer version. Next thing, a lot of famous actresses were considered for the part of Tiffany, including Elizabeth Banks, Kirsten Dunst, Angelina Jolie, Blake Lively, Rooney Mara, Rachel McAdams, and more, and Olivia Wilde. Initially, the director did not believe, is it the director? I feel like I should check. The director did not believe Lawrence's age was suitable for the role. He thought Lawrence, 21 at the time of filming, was too young to play opposite Cooper, 37. But her audition changed his mind. So that's a little bit on the casting. I think there was one other person that was seriously considered for the role as well, and it didn't work out due to scheduling purposes, and one of those people was Anne Hathaway. Super interesting. And then, okay, so next we've got this person on Reddit said, and I don't have their name because it's the bottom of a screenshot, I know everybody likes a nice Hollywood ending, but that's not possible with the realistic characters described in the book. I know this was long-winded and all over the place, but was anyone else who read the book annoyed at the movie? I'm not usually one to angrily yell at the sky that all book-to-movie adaptations suck, but I think this is a book that should not have been made into a movie, and specifically should not have been made into this movie. And the more I read sentiment like this, I do agree that it's just not related enough, in my opinion, to the book. There's a lot of things that don't really line up, and what this person's saying, that the book should not have been made into a movie, I still liked the movie as its own work, so I don't necessarily think that, but maybe it should have just been, I don't know how this stuff works, but maybe it just should have been like inspired by. inspired by the book, because AKA, like, we're not gonna make everything the same as the book because this is a movie and it's a different work. And this person says, which I think sums it up really well, and I was trying to say last night, was, after all the hype and Oscars recognition, by the way, Jennifer Lawrence won an Oscar for Best Actress. I thought that the film was going to be clever and loyal, but everything just feels wrong. If you haven't read the book, this is a well-made film with excellent acting and compelling and emotional characters. But it feels like such a totally different story that I couldn't enjoy it like I hoped to. The two need to be considered completely separately, or you may be filled with too many conflicting emotions. And this is how I feel. If you haven't read the book, this is a well-made movie and I recommend it. If you would rather, you know, maybe in that case, do both. Do both. They're different. Just know that they're going to be different. And if you're going to do both, I'd do book first. Thanks everyone for watching this rambling review of both the Silver Linings Playbook and Silver Linings Playbook, the movie. I will put this in my media playlist, which is when I talk about different things related to, I think it's called pop culture. I'll put that in my pop culture playlist, and I'll also put that playlist below if you're curious what other things that I've covered in that category. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.